What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Higgs Fishing. So last night I went ahead and registered for the KBF Challenge, my first tournament series. The KBF Challenge series, or Kayak Bass Fishing Challenge series, is a series where each state, it's a nationwide series, each state has an X amount of anglers, and you get the whole month. So I will be doing the March challenge, so it'll be March 1st through the end of March, best of 5 fish. So today's video, we're going to go over kayak tournament fishing, the nationwide circuits, which ones there are out there, the differences between boat tournaments versus a kayak tournament, and some of your options when you talk about nationwide series or local series in your area. But before we do that, for those of you who are getting something out of this, I want to thank you to all the viewers. We hit 1,000 likes, or 1,000 views, sorry. 1,000 views in the past couple of days. So I want to say thank you to everybody watching these videos. I hope you guys are getting something out of it. But if you haven't subscribed yet, because we have a ton of views and about 67 subscribers, go ahead and hit like, hit that subscribe button. Any kind of just subscribing helps the channel, and at the same time, it's also going to help you because YouTube's going to tell you whenever we upload new content, and you can watch it or not watch it however you want. So again, thank you to everybody for viewing. Thank you for the support. But if you haven't yet, just go ahead and drop a like on this video, hit subscribe. We appreciate the support. So the other thing I want to get into in the intro before we get started is if you're on the Facebook group, and that's the other thing, on the Facebook group we have 200 likes. But if you're on the Facebook group, you saw that we had posted that we were going to go to the NOE Fishing Expo in Cartersville. And we did that. But for those of you who don't know or haven't watched the Valentine's Day video, I've already let the cat out of the bag. I've mentioned before in some of my videos that I have some health issues. Well, everybody knows now from the Valentine's Day video that I have cancer. So that is not a victim thing. That plays into what tournaments I do, how I do things, why I bought the Bigsby for the boat, for example, that sort of thing, safety. Because, you know, as you can see, I'm still out and about, I'm still doing things, and I'm doing just fine. That being said, it's been kind of a long week. Monday and Tuesday were a little squirrely. And I had chemo this week on Wednesday, so I intended to get some good filming for you guys yesterday at the Fishing Expo. And we were able to go, had a great time. Just got a little tired, and it was very difficult to try to beat the crowds. It's very loud in there, trying to beat the crowds. It was just a little bit too much. So we did finish the expo, and we've got some things we're going to drop below, and I'm going to go over some things now, but I didn't get a chance to do some filming for you guys. It was a great expo. If you guys get the chance to go to a local expo, I highly encourage it. It was $10 to get in, a lot of local vendors, a lot of marked down prices if you're trying to upgrade things. Like I saw Lou's bait casters out there, $150 bait caster, and they had it marked down to $75. So they had a lot of things like that you can go in. If you were actually really looking to upgrade some of your stuff, that would have been a good place to do it. The other thing I will say, we were able to meet some good vendors. I am impressed. I wanted to do a walkthrough of one of the Hobies, the dugout. So rewind. One of the things I've said before is we're very fortunate if you're a Vibe fan because the Vibe shop is here in Kennesaw. Well, the other thing we're very fortunate about if you are from Georgia within the Southeast is one of the major contributors, to kayak bass fishing in general, whether that's the nationwide tournaments or local tournaments, as you see the dugout bait and tackle all over everything. It's a local shop. It's right here in Marietta, and they're an authorized Hobie and Jackson dealer. And they are plugged into the industry nationwide and local. Hopefully, we got a chance to meet some of the pro staff yesterday and meet some of the guys. I also got a chance to meet Jason, one of the tournament directors, I believe, for Peach State Kayak Anglers, which we'll get into later. That's a local circuit here in Georgia if you were interested in getting into something local, physically being there for a tournament. But we also got a chance to meet some of the pro staff, and the guys had mentioned maybe possibly coming back. They've got a pond at their shop, and we may be doing some demos for the channel. So pretty excited about that opportunity. One of the last organizations that I want to talk about is an organization that I met and we spent a lot of time with. For those of you who also know about me, I'm a former company commander and I'm a full-time Georgia Guardsman. We spent a lot of time with this organization. It's a great organization. It's out of Columbus, Georgia. The organization is called Tackle 22. Tackle 22 is an organization started by a lot of active duty veterans and Marines to combat veteran suicide. And what they do is they intentionally reach out to vets who need help, and they take them fishing, they talk to them. And for anybody who knows anything about veteran suicide, I'll just tell you from personal experience, the most important thing you can do with somebody who's at that point is get them to help, step one, and then step two is to get them somebody that they're familiar with to physically talk to them. So that one-on-one sit-down communication is key to actually genuinely helping somebody through some of these things. So I'm going to go ahead and give them a major plug, and I'm going to go ahead and drop a like or a link down below for their organization. If you feel the need, I'm not asking you to donate or anything, but if you feel the need, they have places there where you can donate to the organization. And if you're one of my Georgia Guardsmen or anybody here in the Atlanta area, they're looking for people. They've got a huge presence in Columbus, but they don't really have a presence other than active duty bases. Columbus, Fort Stewart, Savannah. They don't really have a presence in the Atlanta area or North Georgia and Rome. Or, you know, you go out to Alabama, you go out to, they're still working on some places near Fort Jackson. But anybody who's out there, who fishes a lot, who may be able to help, just feel free to give them your support. So like I said, guys, today's conversation, getting back into it, is going to be about bass fishing tournaments, the tournament scene, how to navigate that, and how to get into it. So let's get it. All right, guys. So let's get into it. So when we talk about kayak bass fishing tournaments on a national level, it's a new thing. Everybody knows it. There's a lot of people watching these videos that love fishing. They're like, "What is this?" It's the same thing I did last year. So to get into it, I'm going to give you a little bit of background that I've learned from my research, trying to figure out where to go, what to do, who to talk to. You're going to find three major national tournaments. And I say it just like that because a lot of boaters are out there going, there's one, right? Like there's Kayak Bass Nation, there's Bassmasters, that's it, right? Wrong. Actually, so Bassmasters has actually just changed kind of their new tournament director to somebody who's a kayak guy, but they just got into it 2 or 3 years ago. So that is one of the three, but Bassmasters is actually new to the game. So you've got Bassmasters, they just got into it a few years ago. They're still kind of learning the game a little bit. They've just changed their director from somebody who's a boat guy to a kayak guy, and I'll tell you why later, why that's important. But two, they're kind of jumping into it quickly because it's Bassmasters, right? Like they have a lot of financial backing. They are a tournament machine. So when they say we're going to do a tournament, I mean there's money that comes with that, and it is a solid tournament. So they're able to jump in. They're able to let it develop and let the other organizations figure it out, and then jump in and have one. So that's kind of where they're at right now. Another major tournament series is the Hobie Bass Open Series. Hobie, as we've talked about before, is one of those top tier, probably the standard when it comes to kayaks. Those are the $4,000 pro kayaks. So hopefully, if we get lucky, we'll go to the dugout and review one. But Hobie is also one of the major. The Bass Open Series is one of the major bass tournaments nationwide. It seems like it's been a pretty good tournament. I was actually pretty impressed coming from Tennessee because last year they did one of their tournaments was actually at Watts-Bar Lake, and nobody goes to Watts-Bar Lake for a tournament. It's been a kind of, or at least not when I grew up there, so it's kind of a new thing for them to be able to do that. So it's been pretty neat. So there's Bassmasters, Hobie Bass Open Series, and the one that I am involved in, the one currently, is Kayak Bass Fishing, or KBF. KBF is interesting, and we'll circle back to that in a minute. So for those two, Bassmasters and Hobie Bass Open Series, typically what you'll find with those two is they are a nationwide series. You will get into it, $100 buy-in or whatever the tournament fee is. And then once you're done paying your tournament fee, you're going to travel. You're going to fish in person at an in-person tournament. Now, KBF is interesting to me because it's an organization that you join with different levels of, there are different levels of sponsorship or of fees to join the organization. So there's an ambassador, a pro, and then like a lifetime member. So there's a membership fee right before you even start paying for some of these tournaments. But I'll get to that in a minute. What's interesting is they have a nationwide series. But what they offer, if you're looking into it, is a ton of different series. And I don't want to necessarily plug KBF here. We're just talking about them. But they have the regular nationwide series. They have the 10, which is typically like top 10% anglers, which is another level up series. But then they also have, if you're going to join as a member, you can do what we did. And me and a buddy of mine joined as ambassadors. So we can't do the nationwide as an ambassador. You've got to pay the $50 fee to become a regular member to do the nationwide. But it's only $25 to be an ambassador. But you can do challenge series. Challenge series is an online tournament where you can fish wherever. It doesn't matter. As long as it is a lake in Georgia and it follows the rules, you need to read the rules. You can fish wherever you want throughout the month. And it is catch, photo, release. And we'll get into that in a minute. But all kayak bass fishing tournaments now are catch, photo, release. Meaning catch it, take a picture of your catch, and release. So they don't need you to be there physically present for some of these tournaments. You can actually do these tournaments wherever you want as long as your photos follow the guidelines for the photos and so on and so forth, which is why you go back to my walkthrough, and I don't want to have that extra rod in the photo because I don't want anybody to say, well, he's got live bait in the water and he's over here casting, right? So there's those things. So three major ones, circle back. You've got Bass Masters, getting into it recently, Hobie Bass Open Series, and KBF for kayak bass fishing. When we can get into, I'll link KBF below, I'll link all of them below. KBF has a ton. Going back to the 22 a day thing, KBF just started a tournament this year where it goes back to veteran suicide. It's for the whole year. Anybody, you can become an ambassador, I believe, and you can get into it. I think it's like 30 or 40 bucks for the tournament, and it's an all-year tournament. So it's, if you're in Georgia or Arizona or wherever, you pick your state, and I got all season, all summer to catch 22 fish. So best of 22. And then I think there's the largest black bass. But, you know, I'll link below and you guys can do your research because he has so many different tournaments that even local people can compete in. It's incredible, but it's also insane. It's a lot of reading. So those are the three major ones. Bass Masters, Hobie Bass Open Series, and KBF. Now, if you're interested, I'm starting at the top and we're going to kind of work our way to the middle. If you're interested, and this is what I wanted to do before the cancer this year, and doing a tournament in person and being a little competitive, but not necessarily driving all over God's green earth. Because when you say a national series, the Hobie National Championship was, I don't even remember, but they just did a kickoff for KBF in Kissimmee. A couple years ago, the national championship for KBF was in Shreveport, Louisiana. So I mean, you're talking about a major, if this is not your day job, you're talking about a major, like, I've got to take some time off work and do this. Because this is what a tournament looks like. On tournament weekend, it's pretty much the same as a boat when it comes to schedule. Friday is always going to be your practice day. So you get on the lake, especially if you're not familiar with the lake, and you can practice fish. Typically, even if the tournament is pedal or paddle only, they'll let you use your kayak motor for practice fishing. So you can get around and practice fish, find you some good spots, and then what you're going to have is you're going to have typically Saturday, Sunday. So you're going to have Saturday 7 to 3:30, 7 to 5, and then Sunday the same thing. It's best of 5 fish. So imagine you live in South Carolina and you want to go to the national championship in Shreveport. You're talking about you got to take time off work, you got to get all stuff together, you got to travel, you got to pay for a hotel. If you win, you'll recoup some of that money, but what are the chances of that? Like a lot of this is just fun for a lot of us. So if you don't want to do that, right, and you want to kind of back things up and find something in your area, there's typically state level tournament groups that you can join. Now I'm going to go ahead and talk about a couple that we have here in Georgia. The biggest one I've seen so far is, I'm going to circle back to Peach State Kayak Anglers. And again, if you're not from Georgia, I encourage you to get on Facebook and look for kayak tournaments or kayak associations in your area, because typically what will happen is a lot of these will have groups. And they will do groups so that they can get everybody on a closed group, so they can have open discussions if there's issues, so they can they have a files tab so they can post the rules, they can post the schedule. So everything they can put out, everything there on Facebook, and you can coordinate, collaborate on Facebook. So again, I'm talking Georgia because I'm in Georgia, but if you're not in Georgia, I guarantee you there's something for your state that is affiliated with one of these nationwide tournaments or a nationwide sponsor like the Dugout Bait and Tackle. So for us, I'm going to start with Peach State Kayak Anglers. So if you decide to do Peach State Kayak Anglers, what you will see, my neighbors. I've been trying to film all morning and everybody's walking around talking. Morning. How you guys doing? Doing good. At this point, I've already stopped one of the videos, so we're just going to keep this one going. It might get a little awkward. Great neighbors. We dog sit for them a couple of times. But again, that goes back to me being a regular Joe doing this. So, you know, I'm in my garage, like my neighbors are walking by. So going back to Peach State Kayak Anglers, right? So, if you decide to do Peach State Kayak Anglers, I'm talking to the folks in Georgia who know what I'm talking about. And I don't have the schedule in front of me. I wish I had printed it, but basically it's the same lakes I see a lot. So I think the first one is in March at Lake Lanier, and then you'll have one at Lake Seminole way down there by Florida. So that's a bit of a travel, but you're talking about 4 hours versus halfway across the country. Lake Hartwell, you'll see Tybee, not necessarily Tybee, but you'll see the Savannah River right next to Tybee. It's usually the Bull River. And then you'll see the Etowah River. Last year's where the championship was, right here in Canton, up north of the city. So you'll see these lakes, right? Lakes and river streams around the state. So at the worst case scenario, you're talking about a 4-hour drive. So let's back up a little bit. So typically, these are also only scheduled once a month. So you're not looking at twice a month or 3 times a month. It's 1 weekend a month. So if you're really interested in doing it, you just got to set aside that time to do 1 weekend a month. And if it's your hobby, I'm telling you as a guardsman, I already have to give up 1 weekend a month. It's really not that bad. Especially if your family's willing to come and you can make a trip out of it. What you will also notice is a lot of guys get intimidated and they're like, I can't make all of those. If you look at the rules, typically that's fine. As long as you have the points, you'll still make the championship. You just need to get in the championship. And sometimes I've seen it just by following the rules, where some of these guys win one or get second place in 2, and they don't get a chance to fish the rest of them, but they're still in the championship because they got the points. So if you miss a tournament, it's not that big a deal. You can still get in and be competitive and enjoy it and have fun. So that's that middle tier, right? So we've got Peach State, in Georgia, we've got Peach State Kayak Anglers, and then there's another one, Georgia Kayak Fishing League, which are kind of roughly the same, and they've got a very similar schedule. And they will actually, I've seen them before, they'll collaborate sometimes. Some of theirs, like the championship, will be together. I don't necessarily remember if last year's championship was together, but sometimes they'll collaborate. And sometimes they'll collaborate, like Lake Hartwell, they'll collaborate with a local South Carolina group because it's right there next to South Carolina. And the same with, I forget the lake down in Columbus, they'll collaborate with an Alabama group because they're right there on the state line. So you'll get some of those collaborations. So we talked about the top level. We talked about that mid-tier. Now we're going to talk about the local. We'll talk about the online. And when I say online, I don't mean bottom tier, I just mean online. So 2020 kind of affected the industry, and this is before I got into it, but I've kind of figured this out. A lot of these, like the challenge series that we're doing, are online tournaments now. So if you can't travel at all, and you just have a lake close to you and you just want to get into it, there are a ton of ways to do that. Like I said, Kayak Bass Fishing has one where they're reaching down from the national level, letting local guys compete, local guys and girls. Peach State has one for Georgia. They're going to open up this year, and it's all year, and I'm thinking about doing that one too. There's no membership fees for Peach State. I think the entry fee is $60, so they increased their entry fee. But it's all year, and it's only 3 fish. Your best largemouth, I think it's largemouth, spotted, and black bass. I can't remember. They're going to put out the rules, but I think it's largemouth, spotted, and black bass. So it's the best of 3 species throughout the summer. So that is something you can consider, right? And all you've got to do is go fish wherever you want, whenever you want, and you can compete in these tournaments. Now, a lot of you guys ask, like, how are you able to go fish wherever you want, whenever you want, just willy-nilly? There's no rules, there's no nothing, like, how do you do that? Well, there's rules, number 1. Number 2, this rolls right into the conversation, the differences between boating and kayak fishing. So the major difference between boating and kayak fishing and I'm just going to throw this out there. There's a lot of differences, obviously, different strategies, different techniques. In a kayak, we talked about with this guy, with the Bixby on it now, I go like 4 miles an hour. I'm not going 70. I can't fish the whole lake. I got to be strategic. Those types of things. But the difference in scoring is, for those of you who don't know, and this is repetitive for those of you who do, if you're in a bass series and it's best of 5 fish, you're going to save your fish. You're going to put your fish in your live well and you're going to take it to the weigh-in and they're going to weigh it and your score is pounds, right? In a kayak bass fishing tournament, your score is not pounds. Your score does not, weight does not matter. I don't even own a scale for this. In a kayak bass fishing tournament, and that circles back to the walkthrough of this, it is inches. It is best of 5 or best of 7 and it is total inches. So that is why we went over the catch tray in the last video in the walkthrough, because what you've got to do, you will catch your fish, you will put the fish on the tray with the nose up here at the front, closed mouth, and wherever the tail lands is going to be the total number of inches that you get for that fish, right? So you're going to take one of these, it's like a plastic tournament identifier, and I've got to print mine off, and what will happen is, the night before the tournament, you will have a captain's meeting, and then they'll release the tournament code. You put the tournament code in here. Each time you catch a fish, you'll put it in the tray. You make sure your hand placement is correct, because there's a lot of controversy right now on hand placement, because people have actually been able to cheat. I've seen a thing where people can put a fish in here and get a score, and then they take 3 AA batteries, tape them up in a triangle. Chad Hoover showed us this on KBF. Stick them right here underneath the fin, and it makes it look smaller, but now you got credit for 2 fish, right? So there's a lot of little things like that. So don't do that, don't cheat. But that's also the reason why KBF has gone only with catch trays, because you can't bend this joker. There's no way to bend this to make it look like a different fish. I mean, it's pretty stiff. So what you're going to do, and that's why the hand placement, put it on here. Typically the hand placement's going to be right behind the gills. You're not allowed to be too far front, too far forward. Take the picture and submit the picture. So you don't have to be there. You submit the picture. They can clearly see on the tray, you're saying it's 14 inches. The tail lands at 14 inches. Here's your name and the tag. So that's fish number 1 on the board for you. You don't even have to go in. And then you release it. So catch, photo, release. And it'll be your best of, and typically it's 5 fish in your total inches. So that is how a kayak fishing or kayak bass fishing tournament is scored. So if you guys are interested in getting into it, I'm going to drop some links below for all these tournaments. And I'm going to drop some links below again for Tackle 22 and a couple of others. And again, this is coming from a beginner angler, right? To close it out, this is coming from a beginner angler. I'm getting into it for the first time, so if you guys have any questions for me, especially stuff that I did wrong. Actually, let's rewind a little bit. We went over that. One of the reasons why I talked about in my last video, to make sure to be careful which tray that you get, right? And I love Vibe. We're going to use this as an example. Beginner angler making a mistake. I was in the Vibe store, grabbed one of these because I needed one, right? 20 bucks. Like, hey, I'm going to go ahead and grab one. It's not a big deal. I've never used it. You know why I've never used it? Because it's not accepted anymore. It's still a great trough. I'm not throwing it out in case we go fishing for reds or whatever, just to make sure, you know, that I'm still keeping a keeper, that I have the right length when I'm in brackish water or something. When I'm in a tournament, I can't use this anymore. So this kind of goes back, circling back to product reviews and trying not to make mistakes. If you're going for bass fishing, and the hog trough is very similar to this. I'm a huge fan of Vibe, but a lot of people are not accepting this anymore from Vibe. So go ahead and get the catch tray. Again, my plug for catch. I don't like to see people waste money. I hate when I do it, even though it's only 20 bucks. So that's that. So again, guys, coming from a beginner angler, blah, blah, blah. If you have any questions that I didn't answer or that you want to know about from me, mistakes I've made, just drop them down below. And I'll let you guys know how it goes. I'm pretty excited. We got about a week before we get started. And now that I've got the GoPro, I'm going to take you guys with me. So hopefully I don't get skunked on some of these fishing trips. But like I said before in the beginning of the video, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, help out the channel, and if you get a chance, seriously take a moment and go below and just click on the Tackle 22 website and see what you can do to support these guys. It's a great organization, and they have my full support. So until next time, guys, let's get it.